remember this very clearly, that this is about race. This is what's coming down the pipe.
Remember when Meg told you she was dating Harry?
I do. And when she told me, we're on the phone, and she says,
So they did know
I
who
started
Prince Harry
whispering.
was. How can Doria have known who Prince Harry was, but Meghan didn't? Doria, a woman from whatever it is, from very little background, no education, did know. She knew who Harry was because she goes, oh my God. And keep in mind that Doria the snake, when she went into the church, when King Charles, well, the then Prince Charles, but we're going to call him King Charles for the purposes of this, was being kind to her, was buying her all those expensive clothes because she, for some reason, required like 10 or 20 gowns for that wedding. And of course, they all had to be very expensive. The cheapest one, I think, was like 4,000 pounds. He bought it. So when the royal family was bending over backwards to please these two grifters, Doria had already decided that this was going to be about race. That's what's coming down the pike. So when she stood on the stairs of that church, of that chapel where Harry and Meghan came out of, she was already, and her and Meghan had already hatched a plan and were ready to trash those people. She despised these people. And this is a grifter because now we're going to find out and expose her 2 court cases, and how much of a grifter she is. How much? And I'm going to leave you this question that we all always ask in this channel. How can Mr. Markle not have known where Doria Ragland was? I can see that maybe Samantha and Thomas did not know. But do we really think Mr. Markle didn't know? It is incredible. I find it, at least for myself, I find it incredibly impossible that Doria Ragland did not know at all about Prince Harry or Meghan. I also find it very hard to believe that the royal family did not do their due diligence and investigated both creatures, Meghan and Doria. I think they investigated the entire family. And it's unbelievable to me that they still allow them in the palace. I've always said, guys, that if a prince marries a clown, it's with the hopes that he will get the clown out of the circus and turn the clown into a princess. Instead, Harry married the least funny clown, brought her into the palace, and instead of turning her into a princess, he turned the entire palace into a circus. Because that's what we're watching right now. The royal family, they used to do their due diligence in regards to anybody who would come into the family, and they were vetoed and vetted. Meghan Markle should have not made it past the door. She shouldn't have even made it past the gates. Yet here she is with her mother. When you hear at the beginning that Doria said to Meghan Markle, this is coming, it's all about race. I'm ready to hear my voice heard. Because immediately, as soon as Meghan Markle told her who she was dating, they both hatched a plan. They both did. And a plan that didn't include Mr. Markle because Mr. Markle's skin color. And Doria know that the best angle, as being a good fraudster, according to Tom Bowers, Doria Ragland was back then a drug dealer in the set of the production of the soap opera or whatever it was that he was filming. He was doing the lighting for. She was a drug dealer, according to Tom Bowers. So this is a woman who was already out there in the dark world. Now, according to the family members who lived with Doria and Mr. Markle, she was high on doing drugs all the time, doing all these parties. She wasn't even paying attention to Meghan Markle. So clearly there's no maternal side to this woman. None whatsoever. So now let's get into these convictions, because there's so many things going around. Now, according there is a conviction, I'm just going to tell you this, that it was for a civil small claims and family law and probate limited, which include when somebody owes up to $25,000 or less than $25,000. This is very important because Doria basically was a tenant, and she refused. She was a tenant in the Homecomings Financial Servicing versus Ragland Doria, and that was in 1997. And she was kicked out of. They had to kick her out. They had to take her to court because she refused to leave, and she owed them over, if I believe correctly, over $10,000 in 1997, way back when. So this is incredibly telling to me, because where was she living that she was kicked out of and that she didn't pay rent for? Where was she? This is in 1997, guys. A lot of people say that it was because she had just gotten out of jail for fraud, and she didn't have a place to live. And then she just managed to get this going. And apparently she got somebody to, and many people suspect, I'm not saying it is, but many people suspect it was Mr. Markle that she used as a collateral person to sign off on her so she could get this place. I'm not saying it is. This is just what is speculated out there, okay? But in 1997, she was taken to court by this company for not paying rent, and she was evicted. She was evicted. Now, according to Mr. Markle, Meghan Markle was born in 1981. Doria Ragland divorced him in 1983. She practically had left him, but officially she divorced him. So as soon as she secured what they call an anchor baby, that she can get alimony or child support from him, she dumped him in 1983. Apparently she moved like 40 minutes away. Mr. Markle was paying for that. But from what it's speculated out there, in around 1986, when Meghan was 5 or 6 years of age, Doria disappeared effectively from her life. And we know that where she was living, she was evicted of where she was living in 1997. There was a court case, which was initiated in 1996, from what I understand. So literally for 10 years, Doria Ragland is absolutely absent from Meghan Markle's life. Now, there are many, many cases that are speculated. I mean, you're seeing this case on the screen right now, because this is supposed to be a case about Doria Ragland, where it is, I mean, it could be any other case. It could be anybody. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there might be another Doria Lois Ragland with the same birthday as Doria Lois Ragland, that is Meghan Markle's mother. It could be. Why not? I mean, those names are fairly common, aren't they? Aren't they? So this is a criminal court case. This is for fraud. Apparently, the person who was under this court case spent 5 years in jail, almost 5 years in jail. And then she was released early on probation for good behavior. And because she had somebody signed off on her release, saying that they would make sure that she was following the letter of the law. Apparently, this case, apparently, guys, this case was in let me see if I remember correctly, this case was in 1988. So this person was supposed to have been sentenced to 7 years in jail, but again, apparently this person got out 5 years earlier. Sorry, it only did 5 years. And then got out on probation and had to spend about a year in one of those houses that, you know, that they get in order to get back on their feet and do all those sorts of things. I know what you're thinking. That can't be. I'm sure it's another Doria Lois Ragland. I'm sure it could be for legal purposes. Let's say it is. I'm not saying not. There's another court case here also. there's another criminal. I mean, this is also under another criminal number that it's here. And it's actually quite interesting because anybody who talks about it is silenced or trashed. It's actually quite interesting to see this because I tried to get this back again. And it's sealed. It is sealed. I know that many of you saying, and I know that Doria detractors and Meghan Markle's people say, oh, well, you know, Paula, if that were the case, Doria would have never been a social worker. Doria was never a licensed social worker. And according to California law, if you start studying, you can be after 7 years. Because you can't be a social worker for 7 years. So Doria started studying that 7 years. If this was Doria who got out of jail, seven years had already elapsed for her to study. She was in the process of acquiring her license to be a social worker. She wasn't. She was in the process of it when Meghan Markle started dating Prince Harry. And then she said, well, she was making scrunchies and beads and beaded stuff at the university to make ends meet. Let's not forget that her father, Alvin, died under very mysterious circumstances in 2011. Oh my God, he tripped over the dog leash. I wonder if it's this dog leash that he tripped over. Because Doria, you know, it is the weirdest thing for a person to trip over the dog leash. I know that a lot of speculation, and even I have said that I'm surprised that Doria's other brother, because Doria has other half brothers and half sisters. But she was the only daughter of Alvin, as far as I know. So it makes sense that she would inherit the house. But she didn't have enough money to pay the inheritance taxes for this house. So she was trying to make ends meet, going to college, doing whatever she could to survive. This is back in 2011. Mr. Markle, from what I understand, I could be wrong, was still giving her a hand, lending her a hand. I don't know if Meghan Markle was helping her out. I don't know. But then her father dies. I know what you're saying, but Paula, oh my God, you know, like, because I hear this all the time, guys. She was not a licensed social worker. She was on her way to acquire it, and the time lapse and the time frame that she needed to wait to do that had already passed, so she was in the clear. And if this was the Doria L Ragland that was convicted of fraud, and it had nothing to do with, for example, you know, like she wouldn't have been able to work. She can't have business bank accounts. And this is going to be very, very important for you on what we're going to do next. She can't have business bank accounts because if she was accused of fraud, that I think she has to wait like 10 or 11 years or something like that. It's a longer wait period. But Doria L Ragland is not a licensed social worker. She was doing her time to do that. When again, and I repeat myself, please understand this. So she's not a fully licensed social worker. She's not. People are wrongly claiming that she is. She never finished doing her internship and the social work she needed to do and the hours she needed to gather in order to obtain her social worker license. So she's not a licensed social worker. And this is important for the following. Now, as you can see here, in 2020, in June 2020, this is during the whole thing of Harry and Meghan Markle. You have the Loving Kindness Senior Care Management Inc., right? This is where Doria Ragland is the CEO and she's the whole thing of the business. It was opened, it was established, or it was filed. This is opened by Meghan Markle's lawyers. And if you can see, the address is 0665 Wilshire Boulevard, 5th floor, Beverly Hills, which is pretty much, I think her agent's, Meghan Markle's lawyer's address. This business has no physical address, and it is cash only. So she doesn't have a bank account for this. They don't do wire transfers. She doesn't accept any of that. It has to be paid cash when you see her. Because the way she operates this, you send her a request to the address or the contact list on their website, right? I'm not going to put it here because I don't want to give her any free ad. And then you contact them, and then she personally gets back to you. She does. I know this for a fact because I've done it. I've sent something to that website. I'm not going to disclose which email I used. And she personally responded, asking me to tell her exactly where I lived and give her my personal details to determine, but especially mostly where I live, to see if she covers that area, because apparently she goes to you. And she identifies herself as the mother of the Duchess of Sussex. So she is exploiting the brand of her daughter. And it's quite rich because didn't Meghan Markle disown her own father for supposedly doing that? So she does identify that, and she says that she's a member of the royal family, which technically she is, because her daughter is married to a member of the royal family. So Meghan also is considered a member of the royal family. But it's interesting how she identifies herself, because you know why this is crucial? Because being a member of the British royal family gives her credibility. People will trust her because they say, oh my God, if she's a member of the British royal family, this woman must be okay, because people instantly think that these people are vetted. That they're vetted and that they have credibility and people trust them, because one of the services they give is power of attorney. She takes over these elderly people's lives with a power of attorney. She helps you out with that, with a power of attorney. So she can run the lives of these very elderly, vulnerable people. If that doesn't set off alarm bells, while only taking cash, non-traceable transactions, only cash in hand. The reason for that is because if she has a fraud conviction or a criminal conviction, she can't open bank accounts for business. In business, the businesses can't open a bank account with her name because she is convicted of fraud. It's just why it would make sense that she does only cash business. Not even wire transfer or anything like that. No. It has to be cash. She shows up to your door and you give her the money. And she can take over your life. She will help you organize a power of attorney. I wonder if they do that with Meghan Markle's lawyer. Because I don't know what kind of lawyer he is. If he's able to set up all these businesses, I'm pretty sure he can handle a power of attorney, which is even simpler. So one of the services, guys, I kid you not, is that she takes over. If you can handle things, she will be your traveling companion. She will do all kinds of things. She will take over your life. And then you will grant her a power of attorney so she can run entirely your finances and all of those things. And she's doing all of this while claiming to be a member of the British royal family, whose daughter is the Duchess of Sussex. If this is not it, and this is with the blessing of Meghan Markle, this is a little side gig that they have going on, because this was set up by Meghan Markle's lawyer. It's her own address. So it would make sense that indeed Doria, if she's incredibly shady, that she's robbing these people blind, taking over this very vulnerable elderly people's lives, using a power of attorney under the ruse of, oh, well, it's to make your life simpler because you're old and you can't really get out. So I will manage all of that for you. So she manages their bank accounts, everything, guys. And if these people are half wealthy, she can get that money out. But no, this is absolutely, I don't even know why there's no red alerts about this. So it would make sense that she's unable to open bank accounts for this business because she would have a criminal fraud conviction. The reason why I'm talking about this is because a lot of the Sussex squad comes, well, if she had a conviction, she wouldn't have been able to be a social worker. Again, let's rewind back. She's not. She was in the process of doing her hours to obtain a license, a social worker. And if the crime for which she was convicted, has nothing to do with people, for example, rape, abuse, or anything like that, then that area is okay. But where she would be stuck is in the financial area. Doria Ragland has not been able to secure a credit card. She doesn't own a credit card because she's a credit risk for companies. She won't get a credit card. So to me, if this is the Doria Lois Ragland that was convicted for tax evasion and fraud, it would make sense that even though there's a business that was created as Loving Kindness Senior Care Management, and she's the CEO and CFO, that she wouldn't be able to have a bank account in this. Because I believe that they only this is just my opinion. I believe that they only opened this thing and they're exploiting and using the name of the royal family. And this probably will sort out in a scandal. Because if another elderly person trips over a dog leash with Doria around, or that is a client of Doria, I think that the FBI and the police should get involved. I think that the FBI and the police should get involved in this Loving Kindness Senior Care Management Inc. And the reason why it's management is not that they look after you emotionally and stuff like that, because Doria is not a licensed social worker. She was studying something of psychology, but she did not become a licensed social worker. As I said, when Meghan met Harry, she said, screw this, we have a bigger grift here. We can make money for reals. So what she's doing is she's using the royal family's cred to give her credibility, respectability, and for people, elderly, vulnerable people, sick people, to trust her and hand her over a power of attorney to run their lives and their bank accounts and even their properties. But all cash. All cash. And that is terrible, because then she is doing all the transactions without them doing, because she's usually their bank account. She's allowed to do stuff with their bank accounts without leaving any trace, because they give her access to everything. So officially, it's this elderly people who are doing all of these things. What is actually Doria doing all of that. So how can, if this is the same Doria Lois Ragland who's had two, one, she was evicted in 1996. 1997 was the court case, but she was evicted in 1996. She disappeared from Meghan's life. And as I said, according to Mr. Markle, Meghan Markle was born in 1981. Doria divorced him in 1983. And then she dumped Meghan Markle in 1984, 1986. Let's say 1986 at the latest. And by 1996, she's been kicked out of this place and there's a civil lawsuit. Where was Mr. Markle? Wasn't he paying her alimony? And then we have this fraud and tax evasion criminal conviction of a Doria Lois Ragland that was convicted for that crime for 7 years. And because of good time, she was released 5 years into her sentence. And then she was sent to this housing, when they release prisoners and they put them in these halfway houses. And then she went and did her own thing. Like, she got herself a little place, and then she was evicted from this little place because of that civil lawsuit, if that is Doria Lois Ragland. And now we have her in managing the CEO and CFO of Loving Kindness Senior Care Management. And it's management because they manage, she literally comes to their home, takes over their lives. She runs their errands. If they need to travel, she will accompany them. Power of attorney for her to do all their transactions, all their financial transactions, use their credit card, everything. Now, the big question of it all, given how involved Mr. Markle was with Meghan Markle and how involved he was with Doria Lois Ragland, I wonder, and this is the question I have always asked, and I get a lot of hatred for simply asking a question. Are you telling me that the mother of his most adored child the only person he wants to hear from on his 80th birthday, according to the newspapers. And apparently he was he was still in love with Doria Lois Ragland, and they maintain a very good friendship. That Doria would one day come and drop off Meghan Markle, to not show her face for years on end, and that Mr. Markle is not going to be asking where she was, that he's not going to find out where's your mom? Why aren't you picking her up? What do you mean you're gone for years? And then you suddenly pop up. Do you think he did not know where Doria Lois Ragland was? And why did the royal family, if I, a YouTuber, can find all those information, and if this is Doria Lois Ragland, a convicted criminal, somebody who clearly has civil court cases for not paying anything, a person who can't even get a credit card because she's been flagged, so who can't even get a bank account, and runs a very shady business, doing all these sorts of transactions, cash only, while she takes over the lives of these elderly, vulnerable, sick people by getting credibility using her connection to the British royal family, the very same family. At the beginning of this, you saw she trashed by saying it's all about race. This is what's coming down the pike. Why did the royal family still allow this? I mean, this is incredible to me. But I hope that with exposing this, people who hear the name Loving Kindness Senior Care Management, please beware. If you're the daughter or son of an elderly person, and you're loving and you're elderly, and you think that you're doing your parents a favor or your grandparents a favor by hiring Loving Kindness Senior Care Management, just beware that her father died under mysterious circumstances by tripping over a dog leash, and the wounds at the autopsy revealed that the wound was not consistent with the fall. And this is a person who may have a criminal past, and it should send a red flag that she's only wanting cash. And if you haven't checked on your family, on your parents or your grandparents, check on them if you're in the California area, and see if they're involved at all with the Loving Kindness Senior Care Management. And get involved, because this can't be good. I mean, what do you